the initial impulse of law enforcement is not to arrest people. Okay, it's not to go out there and, despite what you see on the TV and in the media, we're not looking to surveil and listen to your telephone calls or read your emails. That's what the hackers want to do. What we want to do is create relationships in the community. And if someone might be going down the wrong path, you got to let us know. You got to let someone know. So, yes, sir.
We have, you were talking
I'm going to come over here.
See something, say something.
Yes.
We have 911 for emergencies. We have 311 for information. Why don't we have
211? It's 211.
Is it 211?
It's 211 to report suspicious activity.
I've never heard that before.
It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker. Director Chris Rodriguez leads New Jersey's Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. Chris was appointed by Governor Christie on July 26, 2014, and serves in the governor's cabinet. Prior to his appointment, Director Rodriguez served for more than a decade in the U.S. intelligence community, where he held a variety of analytical and management roles. In these roles, Director Rodriguez monitored terrorist groups in the Middle East and South Asia, closely collaborating with partners at the federal, state, and local level to identify and counter persistent threats to the United States and its allies. In 2011-12, he served as a policy advisor on Governor Christie's staff. Born and raised in Morris County, as Kristen's already mentioned, he holds a master's degree from Notre Dame. So that was the key part of the whole thing. I had that underlined for you, Kristen, when I met him. Director Rodriguez, please come on up, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks, Kristen.
You know, it's an honor to be here to talk in front of such an esteemed chamber. Certainly across the state, you are recognized as a leading chamber, and I'm very fortunate to be here. So thank you very much. You know, I have a bit of a personal connection to the Princeton area. I lived in this area in Lawrenceville in 2011 when I worked on Governor Christie's staff. My brother-in-law and my sister just moved here. He's the new head of Princeton Academy. I know there's some PDS families in here, so that's a bit of a rival school. But and also, Princeton University was actually the first university that I got rejected from when I applied to college. So they turned around my application in about 48 hours. So that was, I hung it on my wall as a reminder. So it's good to be here. So I want to talk a little bit about what my office does on a daily basis, and specifically focus on how it's relevant for your businesses. A little bit of background about me. I know it was covered in the introduction. I was at Notre Dame when 9/11 happened. Shortly thereafter, I applied to the CIA, which, for those of you who are not familiar with the acronym, it's the Culinary Institute of America. I'm actually a very well-renowned chef. I applied there. Took about a year and a half to actually get in the doors with all the background investigations and polygraphs and medical and all that stuff, all that fun stuff. And spent most of my career on counterterrorism in the CIA's Counterterrorism Center. I served in Iraq with the U.S. military's Joint Special Operations Command, supporting their efforts against al-Qaeda in Iraq. Shortly after, a terrorist who you may remember, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, was killed in 2006. So I was sent out there to help our military essentially wrap up, kill, or capture the remaining hierarchy of that organization. After that, I served some time in Europe, lived in Brussels for 2 years. My wife, my daughter, and I lived there. It was great, great beer, great food. Did a lot of traveling, and then came back to the agency and worked on Yemen, on al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Many of you will recall that AQAP has come the closest on at least 3 separate occasions to attacking the homeland and making another 9/11, the Christmas Day plot, where the Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib almost blew up a bomb well, actually it was in his underwear. The fuse just never lit over Detroit. And then, of course, that group also sent printer bombs on planes that were intercepted in the UK and in Saudi Arabia before they came to the United States. I had the opportunity to work for Governor Christie for a year in 2011, 2012, and then got a call from him in April of 2014 to take this job. And any of you have ever had a direct personal encounter with the governor, when he asks you to do something, it's kind of hard to say no. So I came back to my home state of New Jersey. So what does the office do? I want to start with a story which I think is relevant for your businesses, and it is actually based on true events that have happened and that we've encountered with a business here in New Jersey. Of course, that business remains anonymous. We value our relationships with the private sector, but I want to tell you this and then talk a little bit about what we're doing on cybersecurity. So let's say you're a business and you're involved in a very sensitive negotiation with with a competitor, and you're sitting down at the negotiating table. You have a good opening meeting, and you go your separate ways, promising to reconvene in a couple weeks. You bring some of your staff along, and one of your staff members, a junior member of your staff, gets an email from one of the people, the competitor, and says, "Hey, thanks. It was a great meeting. Let's hope we can keep the progress up." When your staff member opens that email, malicious code is immediately sent to his computer, his work computer, okay? And it allows the perpetrator to gain access to that person's email, his desktop, and oddly enough, the camera on his computer, okay? That person, the perpetrator, then goes into your employee's email inbox and sends an email from, allegedly, your employee to you, their supervisor, okay? And says, "Hey, Bob, just want to let you know that you know, we're working up some of our negotiating documents. Could you send me the latest draft? I lost it, or I accidentally deleted it." So you know who the sender is, right? And so you reply. But when you open the email, it allows malicious code to get into your computer, okay? So they're hopping into your computer, gains access to your desktop and to your camera as well. And when you're talking to your employees before you go into that next negotiating meeting, your camera on your computer turns on. And someone gains access, direct access to your negotiating position and your posture with your employees, okay? And they also gain access to your desktop with drafts of your negotiating documents, what your offer is going to be, and that gives the person across the table a decided advantage going into that negotiation. This happened to a business. It was reported to the Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness and to the FBI. What are we doing about this type of threat landscape? Because these threats exist. And one of the things that I often talk to my counterparts across the country about, and what they hear from the business community is, look, you know, I'm just a small business. I have less than 100 employees. I'm really not a target of cybersecurity. And that's a very dangerous mindset, because we know for a fact that there are automatic tools that you can download for free on the internet that will scan billions of websites for vulnerabilities and insert malicious code into those websites automatically. Okay, so the person doesn't have to be sitting behind the computer. And these tools are now, don't go downloading them to like spy on your spouse or your friends or anything like that, okay? Because the FBI is actually monitoring these things, all right? Or to see where your kids are or something. But they are out there, and it poses a huge threat to the business community. And when I first started this job, one of my first discussions with the governor was on cybersecurity. Because I'll tell you why. It's a pro-business policy as well, cybersecurity. And what we want to do in this state is create an environment where businesses, and the private sector in particular, small to medium size, and the big ones as well, the big banks, feel secure operating in this state. And so what did we do? In coordination with the state police, the Office of the Attorney General, and with the Office of Information Technology, on May 20th, Governor Christie signed an executive order that stood up the New Jersey Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Cell. A lot of language, it sounds long, but it's actually based on the National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center, which is based in Arlington, Virginia, and is run by the Federal Department of Homeland Security. This cell is based at our Fusion Center. And but how can it help you? We have analysts at the cell who are getting information from the federal government on cyber threats, not only here in the United States, but also abroad. And we have analysts who can actually take that information, distill it, and create analytic products that are easily digestible by a generalist reader, okay? You don't have to be a techie to be able to read these products. But if there is a vulnerability that's detected, for example, in Microsoft Windows, or if you're operating a Mac, the NJKIC will get that information and push it out to its membership. So I would encourage you, before you leave, there are pamphlets outside where you signed in. There's a one-page fact sheet on the NJKIC. You can sign up for it, and you can get direct information and intelligence analysis informed by the federal government and the state, and also, by the way, surrounding states and what they're seeing in their business communities, sent directly to your inbox on a weekly basis. Okay? And if you want to talk in more detail about that, my Deputy Director for Policy and Planning and Cybersecurity Advisor, Dave Weinstein, is here. This would be a great resource. And I will tell you something else. We also, the NJKIC also does training. We can come out to your businesses, if you want us to, on a confidential basis, talk to your employees about best cyber practices, and look at your systems with your permission, again, on a confidential basis, and see what vulnerabilities might exist. I understand that there'd be reluctance to do that, but I'll add an incentive. It's all free. Okay? And this is something that I know the governor feels really strongly about, that I, as the Director of Homeland Security, feel very strongly about. We want to provide these services to the state and to the businesses that employ our citizens and that keep our economy going. All right? So if you have any questions about that, please, get with me after, or I want to actually leave time for questions, and Dave's here as well. So that's cybersecurity. The other thing you're seeing in the press and all over now is the counterterrorism threat. I will tell you that, I don't get invited to a lot of places to talk, so I appreciate being here. And one of the reasons is why, after I talk to an audience, they the blood just kind of rushes from their face, because no one wants. It's nice. It's a beautiful day out. You're having a nice lunch. Why do I have to hear about all these depressing things that are going on in the world? So I'll try to keep it short. Okay. You've seen in the press there have been arrests that have been made in New Jersey against individuals who were inspired by ISIS and inspired to do bad things here in the state. We are the most densely populated state in the country, particularly in the north. 9 million people. Our critical infrastructure supports the largest metropolitan area in the United States. If you look at northern New Jersey and New York, you're talking about 23 million people residing within that area. We are a target, and I can't say it any more clearly or bluntly than that. As New York City itself has hardened as an operating environment, we're beginning to see some activity here in New Jersey. As many of you know, the 9/11 hijackers operated here in New Jersey before that terrible day. And so we are seeing activity here. One of the benefits that we have as a state is the great relationship with the federal government, and particularly with the FBI. After 9/11, the silos that existed within the federal government, the Bureau, the CIA, NSA, they really did come down. And I'm not saying that because I drank the Kool-Aid, because I worked there for 12 years. But what I will say is we have officers embedded up at the FBI. We have direct connections to NYPD and to the New York FBI as well. We're sharing intelligence. A lot of the arrests that have been made are a direct result of that cooperation. But the threat landscape has changed. Look, the Al-Qaeda that bin Laden led shortly before and after 9/11 no longer exists. Okay, the United States after 9/11 got really good at counterterrorism. We got really good at it. And we have killed or captured every operative, with the exception of one, that was involved in 9/11.